Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. We've already had this previous guest on helping people create communities and showing people how to jam pack those communities. An expert in many fields. However, you are really, really heavily invested in today's subject, which is very close and dear to my heart, to be fair, and yours as well. So allow yourself to introduce yourself. Welcome to the Mind Management Mentors podcast. Who do we have? Where are you from? And what do you do as if you were on blind date?
I love that. I think we went through that the last time I was on and we went down the blind date route. I'm Gemma Devine. This is my second time on Cuddy's Mind Management podcast. I'm so grateful to have a second time to come along. Um, the first time was business. So I'm like a mullet. I kind of I am like a mullet. So I'm business at the front and a bit party at the back. So this time we're going down something that is, as Cuddy said, it's really dear to my heart. But it's also kind of the new direction in which my life is taking me.
Yeah,
Um, and the word, kind of buzzword of the day is menopause.
it is.
Um, so yeah, I have been in the personal development world for nearly a decade, helping to serve other people, to build communities and memberships, and align their business. And through this, I have now entered that lovely stage of life where menopause is pretty much my be all and end all. So it's all consuming. It took over my life, and now I'm turning it into something that I'm really excited about. And I want to share with you all and with Cuddy's help to explore that. So
So we have a lot of things to discuss today because there'll be a lot of people, and I've done menopause podcasts with other menopause coaches, but the reason this subject is so heartbreaking in so many times. First, are we allowed to ask your age? Because Gemma, there's different. Nobody ever knows because there's a few things we're going to talk about. First of all, you're going to talk about. Remember when you tell the story about when you used to watch Davina McCall, and when you weren't going through the menopause, you were like, "What is she harping on about?" Which is a really fair point of looking at the journey of when we've seen something in the past and go, "Well, that's not going to happen to me." To
yeah,
boom, you get hit with that sledgehammer to where you are now because you are not. Are you on the younger age of the spectrum or the range of perimenopause?
yeah. So I reckon I started my peri journey around about the age of 38.
Right.
Um, I've recently been living in Canada, come back to Scotland, and I think my symptoms really started in Canada. Um, but it's one of those things that I just chalked it down to I'm just sore, or I'm just grumpy, or I'm just this, and it's not until you start to look at the 34 symptoms of menopause that you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together and you start to think, this isn't normal. This isn't what I should be experiencing. Yeah, so let's go back maybe I think I was like mid 30s, kind of late 30s. And menopause was the total buzzword. So Davina was doing things and there was different people on television and it was menopause, menopause, menopause. And I used to be really heavy into weight training, so I was strength training. And I loved to read Women's Health magazine, and Women's Health magazine was never about strength training or weight training. It was always about menopause, perimenopause, all this. And to me, it was that thing where it was like, well, no one's ever talked to me about menopause. Like, I have an older sister. I like my mum, my grandparents are still alive, and we never, as a family, talked about it. Like we never talked anything to do with any, women's health. It was all kind of brushed under the carpet. Um, so when I kind of started to get more symptoms last year, so I turned 40 last year, and bang, 2 weeks after my 40th birthday, Cuddy, as you put it, the sledgehammer hit me. Um, And I was like, what is this? I was going through a little bit of grief, so we had a bit of grief mixed in there as well. Um, and with the grief and everything else, I started to have really intense panic attacks, and anxiety. But also, I'm a huge workaholic. So working full time online whilst also navigating this new change in life was just completely like just life changing for me. Because I couldn't do the things that I had been doing previously, like 2 weeks before. Couldn't do these things anymore. And just to kind of start that journey of what is this? And when you start to then get panic attacks and you're getting aches and pains and you're getting all of these, like as I said, 34 different symptoms. We don't get all of them, but we get, our lottery of them, I'm going to say. And when we start to get these symptoms, the main one that came up for me was health anxiety. So it's so common between, newly kind of menopausal women is we start to think my body's telling me something, my body's doing something, I must be dying. And that is the worst part of my journey was trying to understand what my body was doing, but telling my brain that I was okay, that I was safe, but it was constantly in fight or flight, constantly in that fight or flight, working, producing far too much cortisol,
Yep.
totally in that kind of that way of thinking. And it wasn't until I came back to Scotland and I'd actually seen a reel from one of my colleagues I worked with, and she talked about how her perimenopause symptoms, and on there on her list was this impending sense of doom.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe it's that, maybe it's this. And I spoke to my mom and I said, hey, like, I wonder if I'm perimenopausal. Like, I'm kind of at that age. I'd never really like had symptoms or like I've never had a bad period and I've been on the coil for years, so I wouldn't really know if I'd had changes in my menstrual cycle. And my mum at that point said I had a horrific menopause.
So she'd never talked about it before.
Oh, I'm like, dude, like this is the conversation we should have had like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Why did we never talk about this? Like, I never knew this, that you were going through such a horrific time. Like, you never shared that with us. All we thought it was like you were having your period. You were just at that point where you were like grouchy all the time, or you were having a shitty time in life and you were just like not feeling it. You never once shared with us. And we were a house predominantly of women. We should have had this conversation. Um, and it kind of took me all down this rabbit hole of why are we not talking about it? Like, why are we not doing these things? And I was super lucky to find a support group locally to me. And going to this support group once a month was just life changing. It was utterly life changing because you start to realize you're not alone. Like there's other women, there's other people going through all of this craziness and madness in life. But these other people are still like bringing up kids and still working full time, and we're like the pack horses. Like we just put another bag on top and another bag of emotions, just throw it on top and we'll keep trugging along. And it was at that point where I realized that I'd had it quite easy when I went to my GP and got, you know, I say diagnosed, but it's not like it's an illness. We don't get diagnosed with menopause. We're it's something that our bodies go through. But when I went to my GP, I had a quite an easy ride, and I still am. Like I'm checking in all the time with my GP. I'm getting constant blood tests, and it's a kind of great relationship I have. But speaking to other women, they don't have the same. And these women live in the same town I live in.
Yeah.
So why am I getting it so easy and they're not? But even people who are then diagnosed with HRT, given HRT, there's no then support afterwards. So it's like, here's your hormones, here's your new hormones, freshly brewed for you. Off you go. but there's no conversation after it. There's no community after it. There's no place to ask those questions. Am I putting my estrogen gel on properly? I'm losing my hair. Is that normal? I had sex with my husband the other day and it still really hurts. Is that there's no place for this. And that's why I was then driven to say, right, I have the skill sets from years and years and years of supporting community and supporting other people that this felt like it was now my place to be.
I get that.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to unpack because it's one of those things because I come from the husband part on this,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. But I have to defend the doctors a little bit because I've spoken to female doctors. Female doctors are like, I'm shitting it. I am absolutely shitting myself because I know there's not enough understanding or resolve apart from antidepressants,
Yep.
of which most people in that area say, I don't really want to do antidepressants. Is there something else? But because every lady's menopause is different, there's no set structure that you can follow, right?
Yep. Yep. And so when you potentially start to feel these symptoms, and as I said, there's sort of 34 common symptoms. 34 common symptoms. That's not then like talking about all of the weird and wonderful stuff that starts going on with your body that might just be kind of out there. But there's four kind of main ones that once you start to really see these, that's when you will be offered HRT or hormone replacement therapy. So brain fog and memory loss. Um, sorry, where am I? I'm just kidding.
Are you being serious? I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Ah, ah. But we need
So
to talk about, can we talk about that before you go into the rest of the
yeah, yeah,
symptoms?
yeah,
So, to echo back everything that you've gone through, right? My wife had that. She was really, really, look, I'm a mind management coach, so I'm really good at listening to my clients, but not as my wife will say, not good at listening to her. Because if I start listening to her like I do my clients, she says, "Stop coaching me, stop listening, just be my husband." So it's a really, really hard thing to
stop
deal with,
coaching
right?
me and just be my
Yeah, I
husband. Yeah.
know, right? So it's so I remember going. Carol had that brain frog and still does, and I we went to the doctors. We had to go to. She got a hospital appointment to get a scan on everything. And the doctor sat down. Now it's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time because Carol, bless her, is very headstrong. Is that Carol? She's very headstrong and
Most
very
amazing human being.
she is. She's an extremely headstrong person. So we went to the doctors, and the doctor was putting her details into the system. The doctor was saying, how old are you? And she's like, oh, I'm 44. When were you born? 19, whatever. And she kept repeating it some three times. And the doctor was like, what year were you born? I'm like, Carol, you're only 43, love. You're only 43. No, I'm 44. I'm, and this
Bless her.
lasted 5 minutes. And the doctor was so nice. He was like, do you want me to just update the settings for you? I'm like, it's all right, mate. She's 40. And Carol, after really being headstrong, she went, oh, I am only 43. I'm not 40. Oh, I.
Yeah.
She went, that's literally my life at this moment in time. She was so, and the reason I want to talk about this part is in a world where there's a lot of labels thrown out for a lot of things, I think we should be mindful about using the term gaslighting
Oh,
because
absolutely.
because technically, if you want to follow the narcissistic headlines of what they do, brain frog, brain flop, I can't
Fog.
even say it,
Close.
brain fog is technically like you're constantly getting gaslit by yourself. So then
Oh my
obviously the
gosh.
conversations are because Carol will be saying to me, I've talked to you about these things, and I'm like, no, we haven't.
That
No, we
is
haven't.
such a wonderful way to put it is I constantly feel like I'm gaslighting myself or even ghosting myself as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I live with my son, who is nearly 20, and my husband, and a male dog as well. So I'm very male orientated in my household. And my brain fog and my memory loss got to the point where I would celebrate days where I felt like I hadn't forgotten things so badly that I told people, the people that I live with, I'm really happy. Like, I haven't forgotten anything today, or I haven't repeated myself because I was repeating myself constantly. But I would tell them this 3 times. Like, I'm really happy that I hadn't forgot. But I, to the point, had forgotten conversations.
Yeah.
And being someone in, like, I'm director of delivery for a company,
Yeah.
an online company, being in a position like that and having brain fog is like this is kind of where we're going. Like it has changed my whole identity because I now have to write pretty much everything down. I have to take notes. And I never used to be like that. I used to remember, I could remember everything. I could remember people's registration numbers. Like
Wow.
I could remember people's phone numbers. I used to be able to remember my bank card number off by heart. I don't even know the last 4 digits of my bank card now. And it's to the it's it so I'll take this kind of down the medical way. Um the brain fog and the loss of memory is such a huge symptom because we're losing estrogen, because we have fluctuations in our estrogen when we're going through menopause. The fluctuations in your estrogen have a direct, and this is kind of where our connection comes in, but it so heavily impacts our neurotransmitters
Yeah.
within our brain. So when you're then starting to lose estrogen, your brain starts to lose function, starts to lose functionality. So there's a lot of consider like a lot of conversation now. And I know that there's studies actually going on in the US for a brand new HRT treatment that will not it won't target the estrogen levels in your uterus. It's actually going to be something that targets the neurotransmitters in your brain because
Oh, that sounds
menopause
powerful.
is actually a brain kind of, I'm going to use the term brain disorder rather than a bodily disorder. Like everything that comes from menopause is actually to do with the lack of estrogen in your brain. So
So it's a lack
again,
of chemical production.
yeah, exactly. So when we're kind of talking about menopause before we really understand it, everybody thinks, and I'm going to use my husband as a main example here. What's wrong with your vagina? Nothing's wrong with my vagina. Like
That's
my vagina,
Drew. That's exactly what Drew would say.
right? What's wrong with your vagina? Nothing wrong with my vagina, mate. Like it's exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. However, what's going on in my brain is completely different. So menopause isn't a bodily thing, however, your symptoms are. So when your brain is starting to lose that estrogen, it then starts to produce more cortisol, which we know is that fight or flight
Stress
hormone.
hormone. Yeah, it's a stress hormone. Yeah,
We start to lose serotonin, which is our
which is a
happy
happiness
hormone,
chemical.
which leads
Absolutely.
to anxiety, depression, all of those kind of symptoms.
Which is why they'll give you SRS tablets, which are
Exactly,
the
exactly,
antidepressants.
exactly. But it also then leads to the hot flushes, which again is due to our neurotransmitters because we lose a certain hormone that controls the temperature in our body. So that's all brain. So this new HRT that's kind of being trialed, kind of being worked on in the US, isn't by a gynecologist, it's not by a women's health doctor, it's actually by a neurobiologist because there's so many ties now to neurobiology and menopause. So we're going down that whole, and that's why we get when we kind of go to see our GP when we're put on HRT, the other treatment is CBT, and that's kind of where you come in because CBT is a way of retraining the brain.
But not to dispose of CBT, but CBT is very much in the logical part of the brain. But what you're going through is the emotional part of the brain. So it's the limbic system. So would somatic healing and brain spotting is for trauma, obviously, but that the premise of this podcast is why do I feel numb going through the podcast, or why do I not feel things? And one of the biggest things that I understand and know for ladies is why do I not feel like a woman
Me.
anymore? And that's a loss of identity.
Yep. And it's funny because when we connected, when I was going through all my health, kind of, I hadn't yet been really properly told I was menopausal.
Yeah.
And you were coaching me at that time. I was going through, we were looking at the health anxiety side of things.
Yes.
And that was when you started to ask me those questions like, who is Gemma Devine?
Yes.
And we kind of touched on, and this again, this is like when we're kind of going, it's amazing. Like I've done so much reading and so much research into menopause, but the kind of newest thing that's blown my mind is women were never designed to go through menopause. Like we were never actually supposed to get to this age in life to go
How?
through menopause. We were supposed to procreate and then we were supposed to die. Like,
No way.
yeah, like every species does it, right? Every other species on the planet does it. I think there's only like three or four species in the world. I think it's three that actually go through a menopause, and we are one of them. I think the other one's like elephants and something else.
Well, that's not a good comparison, is it?
But
That's not a good
so if
comparison.
you think about the age, like the length of life, like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people were only getting to their 30s, maybe 40s, and that was it, right? But now we're living till 80 or 90. So our bodies have kind of had to adapt because we essentially we were made to procreate. We were made to make life. But once you lose that ability, your body then has to find another meaning. It has
Oh,
to
yeah.
find
Yes.
another thing. So like we kind of see menopause as like that shift in life. So is it like empty nest? So have we, have our
So
kids gone?
this is all identity.
Yeah,
And this
exactly.
is the power of understanding your identity in the different stages of life. That one of the strongest forces in our own nature and being is understanding who we are.
Yep.
Because if we've identified as a mother, as a wife, as a woman, and not feeling the second you don't feel it. So when he's going through the menopause, and I hope I don't get slammed for this and things like that, but there's going to be a lack of feeling of why do I feel so numb? I don't feel like who I was.
Absolutely.
That's a
Yep.
fracture. That's a
Absolutely.
traumatic experience.
Yep. And I like 100% I went from being a 39-year-old who lived in Toronto, was having like I was having such a wonderful life experience living in a city that I'd never lived in, and to like 2 weeks later not having a flippin' Scooby-Doo who I was because I was having all of these feelings and attacks and symptoms, and I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. I felt like I was losing my mind. And then it becomes all consuming because all you can talk about is symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. Like, I'm feeling like this. You need to understand that I'm feeling like this. I can't do anything because I'm feeling like this. And it completely, it just doesn't even change, like flip your world upside down. It flips it upside down, turns it inside out, and then reuses it all over again.
Mm.
So finding some kind of direction through this has really helped me because, and I know like my direction is now to do with menopause. But I think because I understand, because I'm going through that journey, I feel like I can relate with other people that when I'm telling these, like sort of telling these new stories and, all of those wonderful things that I'm learning, I can relate and it just makes it so much easier. But yeah, the loss of identity is such a huge part of this because
It's scary.
it's so scary, like so scary that like I hate to say this, but the rate of suicide for women between the age of 40 and 55 is the highest.
Mm,
Like that's heartbreaking
yeah.
because so many women are going through this time of life and just not understanding it at all and not understanding what's happening to them, not getting the support to then, be able to be coached through this, to know that. And it's funny because people always say, oh, it's changing life, it's exciting, it's fantastic. It's like, yeah, it is, but it's also scary. And it's also, you know, until, and I keep using this thing, until I feel if next week I'm going to feel better than I did this week. That's the hope. And next week I might get back to the gym. And then next week comes and I don't feel better and I don't get back to the gym and I don't do the things that I wanted to do. But next week is its whole total own journey.
Mm.
And just having a community around you that are going through the same thing has just been so impactful for me. Um, but yeah, the that change is like I envy the women that go through this, that go through it and they're like, oh, I sailed through menopause. Like I sailed through it. And like I would have loved to have been on your ship. Like that would have been awesome. But I feel like I've had to go through this to then figure out my next stage in life. Um, and it's that thing like God gives his hardest battles to his toughest warriors. That's the kind of thing that I always remember. Um, but yeah, it's scary and it's like it's something that we really need to we need to talk more about. And even if it's not the whole menopause chat, it's when people reach a certain like they're reaching this kind of era of their lives. Let's talk about your next like 10 years, your next 15 years, your next, because we still have like 25 years of work ahead of us. Do we want to still be like where we were 25 years ago, or do we want to flourish and be, on a completely different trajectory? So,
So for from your experience, I can only and it's look, and I know we're going to start something coming up shortly because we're going to have these conversations where we're going to open
yeah.
up the man's the ladies' side and the man's side of menopause, which I
Hmm.
think is going to be extremely valuable for people because the one thing I remember when my wife first went to the doctor and she was telling everything that was going through and they got her onto the HRT patches. The patches really works. She puts them over her eyes and she can't see me to hit me. So I find them very valuable. But the one thing the doctor asked, and I have to say I was really blown away. She went, "How's your husband?"
Yeah,
She went,
right.
actually, to be fair, he's actually been a diamond. Because I try to do as much research because Carol didn't go through a lot of research and then she found different research to what I was finding because
Hmm.
I always want to be that supporting husband when I can be and stuff like that. But there's a there's something for guys if you're watching this and going, oh right, okay, that's what it is. Now, I don't know if I'm an empath. I think I am an empath. I wouldn't really put that label on me, but I sense energies.
Yeah.
And what I can say, and for Drew or anyone else like that, is I sense an energy that when my partner walks into a room, I know where she is mentally because there's a suction of energy out of the room.
Oh yeah. Like my facial expression just
Oh,
completely
it's
changed there, right? Like 100% Cuddy, like 100%. And my husband does the exact same. Like he doesn't even have to ask me that question. He
yeah,
just knows when I am in that like I'm going to use that kind of symptom zone. Um,
downward spiral
yeah,
of brain
yeah.
frog and why do I keep calling it frog?
I
Brain
think we should.
fog
It sounds much cooler,
jumping
brain
around.
frogs.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
my brain's like
Um,
a
and like my kind of as I kind of said at the start, my main symptoms are health anxiety, panic attacks, and anxiety. And my husband can tell when I'm going to have a panic attack. Um, and now, funnily enough, so can my dog, which is wonderful. So if I'm close to having a panic attack, Roy, who's my dog, not my husband, but Roy will actually like the first time I had one when we got him, he put his paw so firmly on my chest that it got me out of it. Um, People can sense it. People know. They just know when you know, you don't have to be a really close person to that person. You can just tell because we wear it on our faces. Absolutely. Like the struggle is real when you're going through these things. And it's to that woman that is in the grocery store and they're full on hot sweating, hot flushing. Like that's tough. I bumped into it was one of my family members actually. I bumped into them in the supermarket and she was wearing a sleeveless top. Here's me in my winter jacket the other day when it was like the storm. She's in a sleeveless tank top. I'm like, you're insane. It's like, I'm hot flushing.
Mm,
That's it. Enough said. Like, I get you, but you do look criminally crazy because you're walking around in a tank top.
yeah.
But,
The hot
you know,
flushes are real, huh?
the hot flushes are mental. And
My wife never went through the hot flushes like that.
that's one of the other four symptoms. So brain fog, hot flushes, or night sweats. So it can get you during the day, but it can also get you while you're sleeping.
My
So
wife doesn't sleep well anymore.
third symptom,
Not,
lack of
not,
sleep.
she doesn't have sweats. She doesn't, but she doesn't sleep well at all.
Yep. And it's that 3 a.m. ping, I'm awake.
Yeah.
That's what women find. And again, it's that spike in cortisol. So
So
cortisol will,
that's what it is, the spike
yep,
in cortisol.
yep, it will spike and it will waken you up. And then from there on, you will start to then question life. You'll make plans for life. You'll do everything that you can. So the 3 a.m. wake up call is actually one of the four symptoms that will get you help from your GP faster if you're kind of showing those four. Brain fog, lack of sleep. I'm always going to forget. See, I should have written these down. Brain
That's
fog.
no, it's okay. So so also arthritis, joint pain, aches and pains in muscles
Yep.
not rejuvenating, lack of water in the body, dry skin. Should I be rattling off all these symptoms?
I mean, we'd be here for a whole another two and
I
a half
know.
hours.
Yeah.
Vitamin D deficiency. Um, it goes on. It goes on. Um, but there is wonderful new things coming out, which is amazing. So there's there's now conversation, like we're talking about it. And however I didn't want to hear it 5 years ago, these people are
Yeah.
already 5 years advanced on what I know. And it's wonderful. So the aches and the pains, again, are a drop in estrogen. However, when you lose estrogen, you lose collagen. So your body needs collagen,
Collagen,
like the
yes.
like the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz. We need it to stop our creaks creaking.
I need
So
more collagen then.
we need to up our collagen. And the way to figure out if you are lacking collagen is if you have the little worm dudes that you get in your eyes, like the little kind of
Yes.
if you have them, that means that your collagen is low. So you need to up your collagen a
Oh, I'm
little
doing
bit.
my eyes now.
Yep. Little black dots or the little worm dudes. That's what I call them. Um,
My
so
collagen
if you
might be
do
all
see
right.
those little floaters,
Floaters. We call them floaters.
little floaters, then you need to up your collagen. Creatine. Creatine is a fantastic new, and this is all come from, I think Davina is a very big champion of this just now. Creatine is obviously for weight training. It's for building muscle. What is one of the biggest muscles we have in our body?
The brain.
So what do we need creatine for?
The brain. So creatine, oh, it is not. Wow. I know there's a lot of scientific studies about how good creatine is for you, whether you're weight training or not weight training. Creatine should be part of your supplements because it's a great for water
Yep,
absorption as well, water absorption. Wow. See,
right?
I didn't know that. That's why I find
Mind
that fascinating.
mind blowing. So adding creatine, and I've actually been in a group of women. We talked. We kind of went down the supplements route. What supplements does everybody take? Because there's so much information out there now that it's kind of like, oh, okay, like what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to take? What am I deficient in? Because until your GP does a blood test, you don't actually know what you need. Like we can lose iron when you're menopausal. You can
Yes.
because you're bleeding more often, right? So there's a lack of iron. Vitamin D deficiency, as I said. Um, Another kind of teller that I had that I didn't know was a sign of it is a heightened prolactin. So if you do get blood tests and your GP does notice, it could be a sign of menopause that your prolactin is higher. So prolactin is it's in your pituitary gland
Yeah.
in your brain. It releases the hormones that then produce milk in women. So if you are seeing that, could be a sign of menopause. So there's all these different things, but yeah, collagen, creatine, um, I'm trying to think what else we've kind of been talking. Mushrooms, mushrooms. I'm not going down the magic mushroom route,
But they
but
would help. To be fair, they would help.
lion's mane for brain fog and for brain activity.
I quite like lion's mane, to be fair.
Anything that we can do to kind of supplement. I mean, I'm on HRT, I'm on patches, and I have a Mirena coil, which I had changed because when you are taking supplementary estrogen, you need the progesterone in your system. So you'll either be given oral progesterone or some kind of IUD, which mine is to then cover the progesterone. Um, so that's my cocktail of HRT, but I also go down the route of trying different things because I really want I know my body's never going to go back to where it was. I
Yeah.
know we're past that. We're way past that mark. But I want my body to last for another 25, 30 years. So it's all about preservation now and not about rescue.
Yeah.
So what can we do to add in, like what can we add into our day to day? So eating more oily fish. So omega-3 is amazing for menopausal women, premenopausal.
It is oily,
Um,
absolutely. Oils, omegas. Yes, absolutely.
Anything that you can do to kind of build your brain function. So online learning is amazing. Um, Doing some kind of word search, puzzle, something that keeps your brain functioning. If you keeping your brain busy, is actually, I think it's like 12% more likely to kind of beat that brain fog every kind of cycle. So when you go through your cycle.
Wow. So it's not like finding a meditation space. It's about testing the brain and seeing what it can do to keep it working.
It's keeping those neurotransmitters firing, so keeping
Wow.
everything working. If you can keep it on that kind of um like that wheel turning, I guess the hamster wheel, keep the hamster wheel going, then your brain functionality will kind of it might drop slightly, but it shouldn't drop drastically.
Wow.
Um,
So why do people feel numb? Why do ladies feel so numb and disconnected?
because we're lost. We're just lost. You know, it's as though could you go to sleep at night and someone steals your shoes and you wake up in the morning and you look for your shoes and it's the only pair of shoes that you have. What are you going to do? And that's how we feel. You know, we wake up in the morning and it can be just one morning. You wake up and you're like, I feel completely different. But it's not until like it's such a strange feeling because you can sit and you can tell someone like your GP or someone else that you feel different, but not everybody's going to listen.
It's true.
And it's like it's a crazy time of life because we look back and we say, oh, I used to be able to do that. Remember doing that. I used to love doing that. And now it's like, right, I could maybe do one of those things this week. Just one. And it's about building yourself back up, but you have to do it slowly and you have to do it to what your body's going to allow.
Yeah.
It was one thing I always said was my body will tell me when it's time to stop. And I used to say it to everybody all the time because I also have fibromyalgia. And my fibro symptoms I've always been kind of able to manage. And especially when I was weight training, um, and lifting weights. The gym was my therapy. It was my place to go. If I could feel pain from lifting weights, I wasn't then feeling the pain of fibro. So
Yes. Wow.
losing that for me was a big hit because that was also my mental health. My
Yeah.
mental health suffered so much when I lost the gym and lost going to the gym. But right now I'm not confident enough. And it's a different confidence. Like it's not walking down the street and being like, hey, I'm Johnny Cool confident. This is like I don't have the confidence in my body to be able to do the things that I want to do.
That's just an absolute fracture of identity, isn't it? That's torture.
Yep,
For
yep,
ladies, that's absolute torture.
yep.
So, what's the answer? Quickly, in three things, what can you do?
Oh, three things. I 100% am a huge advocate, and this is what we talked about on our last podcast. I'm a huge advocate of community.
Yeah.
And I think I joined a Facebook group that was like 70,000 women in this Facebook group, if not more. And the minute I joined that, and I just said, these are my symptoms. Tell me I'm menopausal. And I got so much validation from these other women, and they were
Yeah.
like, it's normal. Like it's what we're all going through. And I think without that, I'd still be 6 months behind. So community, absolutely. Online, in person, whatever you can find.
Yeah.
Definitely, like just meet your tribe, like find your tribe,
Yeah.
find those people that are going through that same journey with you. Um, and each month I go to my menopause kind of face to face. There's always a new person coming, and I've been going maybe for 5 months now. And after my first month, I cried. I cried because I was sad because of everything that was going on. I was anxious because I was pushing myself outside my comfort zone. But I was also like totally relieved. Like, just the relief was just so prevalent. And the second month I went back, there was two new ladies, and they were where I was the month before. And I see it every month now. So we
Yeah.
get new people, and we kind of see it in cycles where we do a check-in, we do a check-out every session, and in the check-in um we use like one of those big foam dices that everybody sticks their fingers in,
That
and we
sounds wrong on every level.
I know, right? Um, and we choose a number on the dice, and like guaranteed, those women that have just joined, they're at like a 2 or a 3, and by the end of the session, they're up there at like a 5 or a 6 because it's just about being together. Second thing, go to your GP.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy ride.
Nope.
It's not. I had a female GP who we tried loads of different avenues,
Yeah.
and I'm still waiting on mental health support. Like I was referred in January, and I still have not had support from a mental health team.
Yeah.
So if I hadn't then pushed further, I would still be where I was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Um, and luckily, my kind of not my childhood GP, but the GP that gave me my diagnosis of fibro was the only GP in the office that day that I called after having a really bad panic attack. Spoke to him, and he put me on HRT straight away. Um, so keep the conversation alive. If you don't feel like you're getting the right answers, push back. And I
Yeah.
know it's like it's really difficult.
Yeah.
but just keep pushing and keep pushing. And if not, find someone that can advocate with you. Write down your symptoms. Finding, somebody that can come along to your appointments with you. Because when we go to appointments, we forget. We forget how we've been feeling. We're maybe having a good day and we forget how shitty the bad day has been. Make sure that you're either writing things down, track your cycle, make sure you're keeping note of everything, but also if you don't feel like you can be that advocate for yourself, take someone with you,
Yeah.
100%. So, yeah, community, GP, and the third thing, find a coach. I mean, I can't shamelessly not plug, but we're here to help you then kind of understand where you want to go next. So once you've kind of started HRT and you've gotten onto that, new trajectory of life, what do you want to do with it? Like, what's that exciting kind of part of, where's it going to take you? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? And that's where us as coaches, we kind of step in and help you kind of facilitate those conversations and see where we can lead you through our conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
And also be good to the ones that are supporting you because we do neglect them. We do love them.
We do take it out on them.
And we wouldn't be anywhere without them. So that's my extra little nugget of wisdom there.
Absolutely. I've genuinely enjoyed this conversation because you're right. There's just not. Look, when I have conversations with my wife about things, and I know you know my wife, but for a lot of people that don't know my wife and things like that, I'll not say her name because I think menopause is still. Mind you, if you ever see me walking down the street, you'll be like, "Oh, I did a podcast about you." So I'll not mention my wife, even though I have it in other podcasts and things like that. But it is a very private and consuming journey for ladies to go through.
Yep.
And when you've got a supporting man on the sidelines, it's brutal for them as well because my wife's very headstrong. So, there's a lot of times ladies might say, "No, I don't want to help. I can manage this. I can do this on my own." And the men are stood on the side side going, "Well," uh, uh, and
But
just being there.
who's going to support you? Yeah.
I know. It's as brutal as it is for ladies, and I'm certainly not saying that or diminishing anything that ladies go through in menopause. But for those kind, heart-centered men who are on the sidelines, you're going you're gonna feel like you're getting gaslit. You're going to feel like, hang on a minute, and if you look into the wrong things, you'll look into the symptoms of narcissism, and you think, holy shit, that's my wife.
Do you know
And
what?
that's
I was just about to say that to you. Like when I married my husband, like he'll tell you that I am now a completely different person, and we've
yes,
only been married for 7 years.
yeah,
But I was always that person. I would do everything for everyone else.
yeah,
You were the main star of our conversation. Like I wanted to know
yeah,
how you were, what you were doing, how like what you'd been doing in your day. I would start conversations. I would ask 20 questions. Now I'm a full-blown narcissist because it's all about me and it's all about my menopause. And I
yeah.
hate that. I hate that. But
No,
but
to
yeah.
clarify though, you're not a narcissist.
No, I'm a menopause narcissist. Let's start that. Yeah. So every kind of conversation that we have, the precipice of it right now is menopause. So it's all about how am I feeling? How are my symptoms? What can I do to help you today? And your kind of dynamic in your relationship changes because I I'm like your wife, very headstrong, like
Yes.
kind of the alpha, want to be the one in charge, but I've had to really kind of drop back and just kind of sit back a little bit more, kind of not be the person that I have been,
Yeah.
but more this I feel like I want to say victim, but it's like it's not victim, it's more like I'm just not there. Just not there. But 100% Cuddy, like it's it makes you think that everybody else thinks that you think that the world revolves around you and you don't. Like but your brain, all you can think about is menopause and symptoms and how you're feeling and it sucks. It sucks.
And what I will say before we wrap up is when you're going through this and you look at the symptoms, you're not a narcissist. You're going through the menopause
Yeah,
because you need to, honestly, gaslighting, emotional reason, playing the victim quite an awful lot. It's not. It's your emotions, your hormone. You're going to get. It's like a spin cycle. It's like getting thrown into a washing machine, put on a could be 2 years to a 10-year journey of spin cycle of what's hitting me today, what's hitting me today. And if you look at the wrong things, you're going to think, oh no, I'm just a narcissist. Oh no, I'm not. No, it's the menopause. You're
yep,
going to have brain fog. You're going to have these things, and it's brutal. It's brutal for the ladies. But if there's any men watching this, you are not going to recognize your wife sometimes. You are
absolutely.
going to be like, what's happened to my wife? And some other symptoms that we'll use Scottish terms, crabbedness, not being able to hold your tongue, not being able to hold your emotions or understand not hold, understand your emotions as
Yeah.
much as you did so that you could manage them. That's out of the window because it's like a stick of dynamite.
And I think like what we're covering, like a loss of identity,
Yeah,
that's prevalent for both like both in a couple. So whether it's a same-sex couple or a um male and female relationship, I think the loss of identity can then be taken on by both. So
yeah,
it's not just, the person that is going through menopause, but the other person because they're having to change their life, their routine, their, possibly like work schedule, work life to adapt towards something that's going on to the person that they love the most. And that can be like all like encompassing for that person too. So being on this journey together, and I mean like it's crazy, like the divorce rate um percentage of people, like it's crazy because people just give up at this point and they think this is not the person I married, this is not the person I love,
no,
and they
yeah,
give up.
I
And
get it.
with a little bit of help from people, then we can save that. But
Yeah.
this is kind of what me and Cuddy wanted to bring to the table was this male female kind of perspective on.
And that is what we're going to be doing on, I think we
Yeah,
should, to be fair, I think we should call it the Menopause Mentors podcast.
yeah. We were going to go down the route of women-splaining the menopause because we did talk about
I
mansplaining,
think we
but
should call it mansplaining the menopause. I don't care what your chat GPT says.
ChatGPT said that might be it might be a little bit too risky.
I think
Um,
risky is great, to be
yeah,
fair.
so we'll kind of brainstorm the title, but being able to have that conversation
Yeah.
with a husband that has gone through it, as well as myself who is going through it, and as well as then kind of looking into all of this research, everything else, is something that we feel is missing in the market and something that we would like to bring to life.
And on that bombshell, genuinely, thank you for coming on, Gemma,
Thank you.
to this podcast. I know there's more things coming, but for everybody watching this, look, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. Whether it is the menopause, this podcast is all about solutions. It's not about and creating conversations. So you'll sit there and go, it's not just me, and that's what this podcast is about. If you are a high executive lady within a business structure and you're going through these things, and you're like, oh, how do I manage all this? How do I manage all this and still be who I need to be at work? It's just so consuming. But look, there's more to come, and I want to say a massive thank you to Gemma being on, and to everyone watching this podcast. Like and subscribe and share it. Get the conversations out there because the loss of identity and not feeling like a woman, a wife, a mother, it's catastrophic for so many people, and it is a traumatic experience. But there's always going to be an answer out there, and that's what the Mind Management Mentors podcast is all about. As always, big love from Cuddy. Is there anything from you, Gemma, you would like to share?
I think I've shared enough. No, I totally stress the point of like be part of a conversation and hopefully this opens your eyes and your ears to then be able to have those conversations with other people around you. So if you are having a horrific menopause, make sure and share it with your daughter.
Thank you so much for being on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. As always, big love from Cuddy. Thank you very much to Gemma, and we'll see you on the next episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed.